This is Update, your informed commentary on the security situation in Nigeria. Overall, the security situation in Nigeria appears to be deteriorating, despite the fact that we had the highly publicized attack by the American armed forces on camps of terrorists. And then we've had government say that they have taken steps and are working hard to reduce the tension in Nigeria. However, in the last 1 week, we've had over 80 people killed in Nigeria alone. And in Africa, excluding Nigeria, we had 110 people killed. Other parts of the world, including the Middle East, 5 other people at least were killed for different parts. Most affected in Nigeria are Zamfara, Borno, Kaduna, and Niger States. And the dominant threats have remained banditry, insurgency, and kidnapping for ransom. Armed groups intensified civilian space armed groups intensified their attacks on soft targets or civilians, while insurgents in the northwest continued their attack on military logistics and patrols. On the 26th of last month, along the Marte axis in Borno State, ISWAP or Boko Haram ambushed a military patrol. The ambush was done using small arms and explosives during a routine movement near Marte. The attackers withdrew after engagement with the Nigerian army. And at the end of the count, it was reported that 7 soldiers were killed, equipment damaged. Of course, there was instant reinforcements of troops and air surveillance was deployed to the area. It is known that ISWAP or Boko Haram have continued to target patrols along the rural corridors. And of course, we do know that for some time now, the governor of Borno State has complained about attacks and the resurgence of Boko Haram and associated armed groups in that area. And in Niger State, on the 27th of January, a rural market in Shiroro Local Government was attacked. Gunmen attacked traders during market hours, looting goods and opening fire before retreating. 18 civilians were killed, stores were destroyed, and security forces arrived at the market after the attack. And the markets, and it is known that markets along that belt have remained frequent targets of attacks by these terrorist groups who appear to be attacking the markets not just for restock their supplies and to also kidnap more people to raise more money. So it is also known that along that area had members of the ISWAP and also the Al-Qaeda have been operating and extended their operations to Kwara State and to Oyo State. And in Kaduna State again, on the 28th of January, along the Birnin-Gwari axis, there was kidnapped for ransom. Again, bandit groups raided a farming settlement at night, abducted residents. At the last count, 35 residents were said to have been kidnapped. The number of persons killed is not yet known. Joint military police search have been initiated, and it is known that Birnin-Gwari remains a persistent kidnap hotspot, and the forests in that area are said to be housing for over 10 years elements of Boko Haram and the Al-Qaeda associated terrorist groups that have been abducting people in that area and sometimes extend their attacks close to Kaduna State. And in Zamfara, a police station was overrun in Zurmi Local Government Area by armed bandits. The attackers overran a rural police station, looted weapons, and at the end, 4 policemen were said to have been killed. Arms were stolen. Of course, military reinforcements were deployed after the attacks. It is known that Zamfara is the hotbed of these terror attacks, and the terrorists have become very comfortable in Zamfara State, where they are said to be guarding gold mines believed to be owned by Nigerians and even foreigners. And still in Zamfara, the military struck some bandit enclaves. The airstrikes were targeted at known bandit camps following intelligence report. An unspecified number of terrorists were killed. there have been follow-up ground sweeps. This happened on January 30th. And close to the federal capital along the Abuja-Lokoja highway, there have been reports of kidnapping. Gunmen blocked traffic and abducted passengers from multiple vehicles. And it was reported that 12 persons were abducted. Of course, Kogi State has also become a hotbed for these attackers who have been terrorizing people in the area. And not long ago, it was reported that a large number of those bandits had been captured and their camps destroyed around Kaba area of Kogi State. Back to the northeast, a naval patrol was attacked by insurgents believed to be ISWAP, who attacked a naval patrol boat using small arms. 3 naval personnel were said to have been killed, and the response, of course, by the military has been to reinforce the waterways patrols. And of course, we've seen boats of insurgents terrorizing people in the Lake Chad waterways. There was a time that it was even believed that the insurgents were the ones controlling the very lucrative fish trade along that area. And in Nasarawa State, near Abuja, on the 26th of January, criminal gangs were said to have attacked illegal mine and destroyed equipment. 6 miners were killed. Investigations was been launched. In Ondo State, at the beginning of this month, February, Akoko area, there was political violence. Party-aligned talks clashed. And during a political mobilization event, 3 persons were killed. Police dispersed the crowd. And of course, this is not good news for the 2027 election because it's coming so early and appears to be an intra-party conflict. And to other parts of Africa, we've had Somali forces killing 30 Al-Shabaab fighters during raids. This has been a recurring event. We've had also the SAF RSF clashes that killed over 50 civilians in the worsening humanitarian crisis in Sudan. And in northwest Cameroon, separatists were reported to have killed 12 civilians. This happened along the Anglophone area, and the targeting of civilians appears to have been a persistent problem in that area. And in Mali, the JNIM, an Al-Qaeda affiliated group that has laid siege on the country and has been knocking on the doors of Bamako, trying to overthrow the government, again disrupted supply of fuel to the area. In past attacks, the group has killed tanker drivers and destroyed so many tankers. It is reported that it keeps targeting and threatening groups or individuals who want to supply fuel to that capital. And also in Mozambique, ISIS-linked militants killed 7 soldiers in IED attack. This has been a persistent problem, and the ISIS appears to have strengthened its hands in that area, sometimes taking its fights to Congo, where several people and civilians have been killed. And around the world, the conflict between Hamas and Israel appears not to be coming down. Israeli airstrikes killed 12 people following rockets that were fired from that area. This has become a recurring problem. Even though there have been ceasefire agreement, the attacks or planned attacks have continued, and retaliatory attacks by Israel seem to have intensified. And the whole world appears to be sitting on edge, waiting for whether the Iranians will attack first or Israel will attack first, or the US will drop its bombs in Iran first. The world seems to be waiting. The protest in Iran seems to be unrelenting, even though they have been cracked down. Some reports say that 20,000 people had been killed. Other reports say that as many as 60,000 people may have been killed, while the government in Iran says that only 5,000 people had been killed. The outlook in the next 7 days appear to be gloomy. Nigeria still has high risks of further mass attacks, mass kidnappings, and ambushes against security agencies. The conflicts in the Sahel seems likely to intensify, and the hybrid warfare and infrastructure sabotaging appear to be increasing around the world. But the question people are asking are 3 concerning Nigeria. The first one is, why has the American attack been stopped? Does it mean that the United States has satisfied itself that the government has given it enough convincing reasons that the insurgents are being fought and contained in Nigeria. People have wondered whether the attack by the government of the United States did not just poke the bears to the extent that today there appears to be more attacks, the frequency are increasing. The attack, unrelenting attacks. Does it mean that the attack by the United States government in Sokoto State brought attention of the world to the numerous attacks that the government and mainstream media in Nigeria have refused to report? Or these organizations have just increased their attacks, trying to tell the American government that do whatever you do, we're in control of Nigeria. However, in the last few weeks, we've had many more attacks on churches and Christians in their worship places. And the attacks are reminiscent of what happened when Boko Haram started attacking. Several churches were attacked, and it was convenient for government then to just say that the attacks were not very serious and that it was on top of the situation. And the government said it was on top of the situation until Boko Haram actually took over some swaths of territories in Yobe, Adamawa, and Borno states that resulted in elections being postponed for some weeks. And the government seemed to have come to the conclusion that it has successfully got the Americans to back off and it's doing whatever it wants to do. But the fact of the matter is that these terrorist groups, as history has shown, if you don't destroy them, if you just attack them and stay off, they get strengthened. They attack more people. They expand their territories, and nobody knows how the end will be. As at the moment, terror groups are so bold to declare the actions that they have taken, as they have successfully reached Oyo State and appear to be cycling Abuja. We have them in parts of Plateau, in Kaduna, in Niger, in Kogi, in Nasarawa State. That means that these groups have an agenda. Their eyes may be on Abuja, and the government, by playing the ostrich, may just be playing into the hands of these terrorists. This is Update. My name is Romande Shawulu.